Hello everyone, very good morning. Let me share my screen and I hope you all are able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So what is permission set group? Can anybody help me with this? Okay. Permission set group is a functionality by which we can assign multiple permissions to a user, not by one assigning those permission sets, but assign that permission set group at once. In permission set group, we can include multiple permissions at once, create a bundle of permissions, and then instead of assigning those permissions to individual user one by one, we can assign permission set group. Okay, so all the permissions in the permission set group will be assigned to user all at once instead of assigning it one by one. Okay, so that is the basic funda behind the permission set group. Okay, so if I go and create a new permission set group, let us first create a few permissions. Okay, so let us create a new permission called, we have a position object, right? So let's say position view all. Okay, this is the permission I want to give. And so on position object, I just want to give the view all permission via this permission set. Okay, so let's go to position object. And here we will give the view all permission. Okay, so if we'll give view all, read permission will already be given. Okay, and let's make the tab visible and available. Save it. And now create, let's another permission, modify all on the same object. We go to same object. Will give modify all. And if the moment you give modify all, read, edit, delete, view all will always be already be given. But remember that it will not allow the create. Okay. These are the two dummy permission sets we have created. Now let us create the permission set group. Okay. So what we are going to do here is that we'll create the position permission group. Okay. Now here you have an option to, now this is the permission set group you have created. Okay. And you can add permission sets in this group as well. Okay. So we can add permission set. We have created two positions permission set. So we will add both of these two. Okay. Now we can directly assign this permission set group to a user. So if I want to assign it to a user, let's say the same user we always take, dummy user 2. Okay, so this is the permission set group assignment. You can click on edit and you can assign the. All right. Now, if you see, there is another option in the permission set group, which is called muting the permission set, muting permission set in group. Okay, so what happens is that, let's say you want to mute some of these permissions which are part of this permission set group. Okay, so one option is to remove the permission set from that group, right? Just remove that permission set which is giving that particular permission, and by that way you will remove that permission. But there are chances that maybe that permission set is giving couple of extra permission. Let's say that permission is giving 3 4 permissions, but you just want to mute one permission. That's it. You don't want to mute all the permissions. You just want to mute one permission out of the 4 permission given by a particular permission set. So you will not remove that permission set because that permission set is giving more permissions than you have to mute. Okay. And you can also not, and the other option is you create a new permission set with limited permissions and then assign that permission set and remove this particular permission set from the group. Okay. So in both the scenarios, you will either remove a permission set or add a permission set, a different permission set altogether. And if you add a permission set in permission set group, then that will affect all the users who have this particular group in it. Okay, so you will, I mean, both the options are not very good. Although, though both the options can do what you want to do, the Salesforce has given you a better option, which is muting permission set in group. Let's say with this permission set group, you wanted to give view all and modify all permissions to all the users, but now you want to mute the modify all permission. Okay, so what you're going to do is you will create a muting permission set. Okay, and by default it will give you a name, your permission set group name underscore muted. Okay, you can change it as well. Now, if you go inside it, it will ask you what you want to mute or something. So you can directly go to object setting. We will again go to the position object, and it will have the thing which you have already given via this permission set group. So you have given view all and modify all via this permission set group. It will give you all such options which you have already enabled. And then on the right hand side, it will give you an option to mute which things you want to mute. Okay. So let's say I want to mute modify all and save it. And now whosoever has this permission set group will not have modify all. So what we did is that we provided couple of permissions via permission set, but then later on we got a requirement to mute some of these things or remove couple of permissions. So instead of removing permission set and creating new permission sets, what we did is that within that permission set group, we created a mute permission set. Okay. Now, a couple of things to remember here is that if you have given this, see, there were 2 permission sets in permission set group. Okay, there were 2 permission sets. One is view all, one is modify all, right? Now, if you assign those permission sets individually to a particular user, then this muting permission set will not work there. Okay, this will only work if you have assigned this permission set group to a user. If those permission sets have been assigned individually by permission set assignment, then this muting permission set will not have any effect on them at all. They will still be able to modify. Okay, so this will only be effective if you have assigned a permission set group to a user. Muting permission set has no effect on whatever user already by default gets on his own profile. So if on profile you have given modify all, and then later on you create a muting permission set in a permission set group and assign that permission set group, that is not going to mute anything because by default he has got that thing on the profile itself. Okay, so always remember that if something is given on profile or via permission set individually, then muting option does not hold any base there. It will not be able to do anything. Anybody has any doubt on this?
No, sir.
Perfect. So now we saw that muting, see, this muting permission set was something kind of very confusing for us earlier. We have gone through it, and this only holds its base when it is part of a permission set group and user have been assigned that permission set group, not the permission sets individually. Okay. Now let's talk about what is custom permission. This was another. Yes, Swapnil, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, sir. So can we just answer that question? Like, apart from restriction rules, we can also use the permission that muting mute permission set to restrict the access.
Yeah, we can use muting permission sets to restrict the access, but given the conditions, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we just alternate to for the restrictions. Like,
Yes. So yeah, we in an interview, whenever we will say, we will talk about muting permission sets, you have to remember that even if you assign that permission set individually to a user, muting permission sets will not have any effect. Okay.
yeah, okay, sir.
Good. Hmm. Yeah, from the interview point of view, this can bring more confusion. So now if your basics are clear, you will be able to clearly tell him. If you have not assigned permission set group to a user, no matter what muting permission you create, that is not going to affect that user at all. A restriction rule is something which we will create shortly. Okay. And then I will show you.
So basically, when it comes to like muting the permission set, a permission set group has to be assigned to the user.
Yep,
Am
100%.
I?
If
Okay.
permission set, just permission set is assigned, muting permission set will not do anything. Got it? So if only if a permission set group is assigned and then you create a muting permission set inside it, then whatever you want to mute as part of permissions given via that permission set group, then it will work. But if you have assigned, let's say, view all permission individually, then muting permission set in the permission set group, even if you assign that, it will not work because he has got the view all permission via permission set, not via the permission set group. If you assign both, then also by the virtue of permission set, he will still have view all permission, even though you have assigned the muting permission set, because you have assigned permission sets individually as well. Okay.
Okay.
I
Thank
see
you.
a couple of raises hands. Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, right. Just to confirm one thing, suppose we have user A and user B, and
Mm-hmm.
through permission set group, user B has given multiple permissions.
Correct.
Suppose we have permission set A1,
Mm-hmm.
and A1 is also given to user A, but individually. And
Hmm.
if we are meeting, if we are meeting the permission set through muting permission, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the thing is there.
Mm-hmm.
So it won't affect anything on the user A, right?
Correct. If he has got these permissions individually, muting permission set will not affect. If you see the Salesforce documentation on it, I will show you.
So B, but for B user it will affect, right?
100%.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir. So, and we can answer that questions like in 98% will have a permission set, and whatever the two users we just have to restrict, we will just assign the muting permission to them. A muting permission group, that permission set group.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Now, see, you see here. Okay, my system is behaving a bit weirdly. You can mute a single permission on several permissions in a permission set group. If you mute a permission in a permission set group, only the permission in the group is muted. Permissions within the permission set are not affected. Okay. So permissions within the permission set is are not affected means if you have assigned those permissions individually as a permission set, muting will not have any effect on them. Okay. And you can obviously go more deep on this and check more documentation, but it will have only effect when it is part of permission set group, not. See, you can see here, muting only impacts group members. Users outside of the group who are assigned to permission sets remain unaffected. Okay, I hope this line clears many of your doubts as well.
Mohit sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah, please.
So, if we are providing permission with the help of permission set group, right?
Right.
And if we are trying to mute them with the help of this muting permission,
Mm-hmm.
so like, why are we providing the permission? Like, what
Nice.
is its business significance?
Right. Nice question. See, what happens is that when I first introduced muting permission, I told you that the first option is, let's say I want to remove the view all permission. Okay. So instead of doing anything, I can remove the permission set from that particular permission set from the permission set group, right?
Yes.
And then he will not have you all. But the thing is that there can be different scenarios where you have to either use that permission set group differently, or you will have to use it in a different manner that few will still have the view all permission. So in the case when we cannot remove that permission set from the permission set group because it has other dependencies, other users are using it, or you have to design it in a manner that few will have it, few will not have it. So in that case, we will not be able to remove it from the permission set group. Okay. Now, there can be question like why we like we can add multiple other permissions as well. Let's say we create a different permission set group without having the view all. That is also possible. Salesforce have just given a new feature. Okay, it's not like you cannot do it without muting permission. You can obviously do it even without using it as well. It's just a feature. They'll see if it is working or not. It is not very heavily used in Salesforce even today as well. But from the interview point of view, it brings a lot of doubt in candidates' mind. So interviewer love to coin these new terms. Okay, this is not very heavily used, and even without this, you can obviously say, prepare your permission set group in a way that you will be able to achieve. Let's say you created two different permission set group, one with view all, one with without view all, and one with all the permissions. Depending on which user need what, you can assign that permission set group, or even you can individually assign permission sets. Okay. So it's not like we cannot do it without muting it, but just a new feature to do it more efficiently. Okay. Nothing else.
Hi Mohit, Avjay this side.
Mm-hmm.
Mohit, my question is like, let's say we have a multiple permission set groups which are muting the multiple objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we are assigning, if whatever permissions, new permissions we are assigning with this particular user, so that particular object is affected because of this permission set, muted permission set group. Is
Mm.
it correct? No?
Can you go again? Can you go again?
Okay, I'll make it simple. Let's say what is happening, like we have a multiple permission set, muted permission set group. Okay,
Mhm.
and they or they are affecting more than five or six object. Okay, what is happening, like we have a new requirement, we have to be create a permission set, we have to be give the access for that particular objects record. Let's say create record, we have to be create permissions we have to be give for the user.
Mhm.
So what happened with this object, or how we can find out that like which muted permission set is written?
Okay, see, first muted permission set will only mute a permission which was given by any of the permission set which is part of your permission set group. Okay,
Mm-hmm,
so review what it is muting. You also need to know what we first gave as part of permission set group in this particular group. Okay, and then
okay.
later on, when we go to that muted permission, we'll have to clearly document it what we are muting, because otherwise it will become really difficult. First, it can only mute the things which was provided additionally as a permission set in that particular group. Okay, it cannot mute something which was not given at the first place. Like if on contact you have given just the read permission as
Mm-hmm,
a permission set, which is part of this permission set group, you cannot mute the edit permission on that contact because it was not even given at the first place, right?
Right.
So now when you create a mute permission set, it has to be properly documented. Okay, it should
Okay.
not be like you just created it and muted it and then nobody will have any idea about what this mute
Mm,
permission is doing. So in the description, you properly put what you are going to mute it so that somebody else who is going to refer it in future or somebody who has to modify these things in future will have a clear idea about it. Otherwise, if you have 300 objects and he'll keep on going through all those 300 to check what it is muting, it will be really difficult and headache for the new developers as well. So sometimes we'll have to design it in a way that it properly tells us what it is doing inside. Okay.
okay, Mohit.
Later on, see on the with the help of tooling API, you can obviously check a couple of things as well. So just play with it in the backend to see if you can query it and then if you can see what permission is giving or not giving. I did not check it in the backend, but better way is to always document these things as well.
Hmm. That's what I want to know, that like how we can check it, like any signal will be there, like this permission set group is muted, something. So
Okay, let us check if it is giving us any hint. No, it just give the normal
mm,
uh, UI where you can check.
okay.
I will see this, guys. If there is anything possible from tooling API or better way, right?
Okay, okay, Mohit.
Obviously, we should be able to retrieve it via metadata, and if that is possible, then I will do it. Okay, does that answer your question, Harshit and rest of the people, Swapnil?
Yes, Mohit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, obviously, this is a new thing. So obviously, there are some doubts about when to use it, when not to use it, what are the actual benefits of it? Can we do without using muting? Yes, of course, we can do without using muting permission as well. It's not like this is the only way to do it. Normally, we used to do that, like we used to, if one permission set is giving modify all, then we have to even restrict it. Then we will create a two different permission set, one for modify all and one for view all, and then remove modify all from the people who just don't need it and just give them the view all permission. So earlier we used to do it via the workaround. It's just that now we have muting permission. So that is it. And this is also not a fully baked product. Okay, although this is generally available, but not a fully baked product. Everyone has not adopted it really well. So we will see how it goes in future. Okay. You can always check the Salesforce document around this to get to know more about it. And if you get to know or any new finding you find on these particular piece, feel free to let everybody know as well. Like tell everybody that sharing will be helpful. Okay, chalo, nice. Let's create a restriction rule. Okay. First, let us check the restriction rules.
Mohit, custom permission, I think we are talking about
Sorry.
custom permission.
Yeah, okay, okay. Let us check the custom settings, custom permissions as well. Okay, let us go to custom permissions and see what it has. Okay, let us create a see, custom permissions we most of the time use just for the purpose of having a custom check. on your code, on your flows, on your validation rule, just to do the kind of Boolean checks on your code. Okay. Most of the time we use it when see, you can see that it is not providing any additional permission or something, right? This is just a Boolean check which basically has a valid name. So on your code, you can check, let's say if you have to bypass a validation rule on your code, you will go and check if the user who is running that validation rule has this custom permission assigned. If yes, then bypass the validation rule. If no, then run that particular validation rule. Similarly goes for trigger as well. If you have a piece of code which you do not want to run for a particular a user who have this permission, you can assign that permission and then you will check this particular permission. If the bypass trigger permission is there, then bypass that particular piece of code. So on the if statement, you will say if this permission is not assigned, then run this particular piece of code. Otherwise, don't go there. So this is just for the Boolean check. Normally we use it more in the Apex code, but we can also use in the validation rule and flows as well. Okay, if I show you the custom fictions in Salesforce via the Salesforce document, see, always refer to the standard Salesforce document whenever you have to do some findings, because I'm not saying that other things are not useful and other blogs are not good enough. They all are good enough, but sometimes you may not see the most updated information there. Okay. Okay, see, in Salesforce, many features require access check that specify which user can access certain functions. Permission set and profile setting include built-in access setting for many entities like object, field, tabs, and Visual Force pages. However, permission sets and profile don't include access for some custom processes and apps. For example, in a time of manager app, user might need to submit time of request, but only a small set of users approve time of request. You can use custom permissions for these types of control. Okay. Custom permission let you define checks as similarly how you assign. So see, you can have, if you see this, to determine which user have access to a specific custom permission, use Apex and do something like this. Boolean has permission, dot check permission. Hmm. Okay. Normally, where we have used it in our real projects, that's what I will be telling you. Okay, and then later on you can use that thing as well. Okay.
I have one use case which I have implemented. Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead and tell everybody.
Yeah. My use case was to to show one kind of error message if the your logged in user is profile one, and for the apart from profile one, I have to show the different error message. So in such case where I'm created this custom permission and I have importing this custom permission into my LWC, and I'm doing a check if if my custom permission is this, else show the other error.
Yeah, that is possible. So that is also kind of Boolean check where you check if the user has this particular custom permission, then do this. If not, then do this. Or if this, then do display this, otherwise display this. So you can see here as well. This is a very good blog. Okay. In the validation rules and formulas, we can check the custom permissions. Okay. So from here, you can go to permissions and check. Okay. So here, if permission is not edit revenue of account, and if somebody tries to edit the revenue, then you will get the error message that you are not allowed to edit. Okay. So this is also the Boolean checks you are doing. Okay, we do that a lot in code where we have to run a particular piece for a particular user and we do not run it for certain users. So we can do that with the help of custom permissions as well. Okay, there are other ways to do that as well. It's not like that. Sometimes we hard code it like if profile is this, then don't do this. If profile is this, then don't do that. That is a bad way to do it. A good way will be to assign a custom permission. And if you want to bypass trigger, if you want to bypass validation rule, it will be a good way to do that. You can get these things in the these custom permissions in the flows as well as in the validation rule, and of course in the triggers as well. Okay, even in the dynamic actions you can get it. Okay, so if particular user has a particular permission, then based on dynamic action he'll be able to see a different button. That is a very good use case. So let's say there is a clone button on the page and you want to display this clone button to only for the users who have the view clone button permission. Okay, you created a view clone button permission, and only user who have access to, who have this permission view clone button will only be able to see the clone button. So that thing you can control in the dynamic action. From here you can go to custom permissions and then check if the custom permission has this value as true, then display this, otherwise don't display this. So they have multiple use cases, but in the backend you have to understand it is mostly the Boolean checks we do with the help of custom permissions. Okay, it actually does not give you any permissions. It only gives you so that we can use it in the code or in the flow or in the formula that he has that permission. That's it. So from flows as well, you can go to permissions. Okay, all in all,
Hi,
custom.
Mohit.
Yes,
Yeah, I have a use case in my project. Like just similarly, you saw there was a button in the on the record page, which we wanted to control its visibility based on the some user you can say. So we created a custom permission and assigned that custom permission to those users only, and then we set that value to true.
correct. Yeah. So that is a good use case. And see, normally we see this in validation rule. I see this in sometimes bypassing a piece of code, nothing related to a specific trigger or something. Even if I'm the within a class and I want that, let's say, certain calculations to happen only for sales manager or only for a user who is in profile XYZ, then I can have a custom permission assigned to those users, and then can check that thing. If he has that permission, then do this piece of code. Otherwise, go to the else statement and do the rest of the thing. Okay. And it's not like this is the only way to do, like custom permissions are the only way. We used to do these things via custom metadata and custom settings as well. It's not like this is the only way, but this is obviously a easier way because you can access these custom permissions everywhere. That makes them really easy. Okay. So
Can we use also custom label?
yeah, you can use custom labels as well, but custom label has its own use case. So see, you do not assign custom labels to a particular user. So if you have to do
Yeah,
a particular user, custom labels will not help. Custom label have a specific use case whenever you have to, let's say, uh, assign a label or create a label which will be multilingual. So if a Spanish user logs in, he will be able to see that label in Spanish. If a Chinese user logs in, he'll be able to see it in Chinese. Or if you want to have a label so that you need not to hard code something in your org. Let's say you have a API endpoint and you don't want to store it as a hard coded value in your code itself,
yeah.
keeps on changing every sprint whenever you refresh your sandbox. So you will create a custom label. Instead of going to Apex code and changing it, you will go there and just change the custom label the moment you get an updated URL from the middleware or the from the third party system. So custom label has its own use case. It is not very ideal to use it here. Okay.
Okay, Mohit.
All right. Final thoughts. Custom permissions open up whole new realm of possibilities, be it in the declarative or programming implementations, considering both the process integrity and user experience. They are a feature you have full control over without having a dependent on pre-existing permission for your custom solution. Okay. I think this is an easy use case. I don't think there is any difficulty in custom permissions. Try to use it in your system and you will have more clarity. Can we deploy custom permissions? Of course, we can deploy. Why not? First, we should be able to deploy them. Otherwise, how we'll be able to use them inside Apex code? Our code will break, right? All right. Are we good here? Consideration. Okay. Let us talk about restriction rules. Okay. This is also a new term. In the interviews, you will see a lot of interviewers throwing you the restriction rule term. So first we have to understand the relevance of it, where it is where we can implement it and where we cannot implement it. Okay. So a bit of reading. Okay. See, restriction rules are only available for custom objects, external object, contracts, events, task, timesheet, and timesheet entries. Okay, so whenever I was talking about any interview question, I was focusing on one factor, is that which object they are talking about. Because let's say if they are talking about account, case, contact, opportunities, then restriction rules are already not in the picture. Okay, they are only in the picture when we are talking about custom objects or external objects or just contracts, even task and timesheet entries. It is not fully available for all the objects. Okay, so if in the Salesforce, if I go to, let's say, opportunity, you will not have any option to create the restriction rule. Okay, so that is why sometimes we have to ask which object we are talking about. If you say opportunity, then restriction rule is not in the solutioning at all. Okay, now restriction rules are applied to the following Salesforce features. So whatever you restrict via restriction rule will be applied to following things. On the list view, you will be able to see restricted values like restricted records only. With the restriction rule, we restrict the record. Okay, so let's say user was able to see 10 records earlier, you created a restriction rule. Now he might be able to see only 5 records. Okay, so on the list view, he will have a limited records. Similarly, on the lookup, based on the restriction rules you have applied, you will only be able to see limited records on the lookups as well. Same goes on related list, reports, search, SOQL, SOSL. Okay. So if restriction rule is applied and that user is doing SOQL query on the user mode, he will only be able to see the limited records. Okay. Restriction rule supports custom picklist values in record and user criteria. If you delete a custom picklist value used in restriction rule, the rule no longer work as intended, of course. Okay, this is important. After restriction rules are applied, user can still see the records that they previously had access to in the search box shortcut list or in the recently viewed list view. When user clicks on the record name, they can't access the record and get an error. Okay. Users can't clone record that have a lookup to a record that they can't see due to restriction rule. Okay, so obviously, if you have a lookup on contact and we have restricted that particular contact from you, then you will not even to clone that particular record itself. We have which has that lookup to contact, which is very normal, right? Users with view all and modify all data permissions can view all record regardless of restriction rule. Users with the modify all or modify all data permissions can view, edit and delete all records regardless of restriction rule. Okay. So this is an important thing from the interview point of view, is that modify all or modify all data and view all data will obviously overrule the restriction rule. So any user who has these permissions will restriction rules will not have any effect on them. Okay. And this is important from the interview point of view. So remember that. Okay. Now, a user with restriction rule applied might not find all possible matching results when searching for a record. For performance reasons, search crowding applies limited. Don't get confused with it. You need not to know all these things. You can create, this is important, you can create up to 2 restriction rules per object in enterprise and developer editions, and up to 5 restriction rules per object in performance and unlimited editions. So you can only have at max 5 restriction rules per object. Okay. And restriction rule restricts the user access. So we will create it, we will see it, but only 5 restriction rules per object, I think, is too low. Create only one restriction or scoping rule per object per user. See, if we start creating rules for per user, then we only have 5 rules. So that will not make much sense anyway. Okay, creating a restriction rule for an object does not automatically restrict access to its child. For example, if you create a restriction rule for a contract object, the access doesn't change for nodes that are associated with the affected contract record. To secure these child record, you must use other sharing mechanism, of course. So what they're trying to say is that if there are two objects which are, let's say, in the lookup relationship, and if you restrict the parent, that will not ensure that child will also be restricted. You may still be able to see child because you only restricted the parent. Okay. See, this is important. We support these types of user criteria and record criteria in the field: Boolean, date time, all these. We will create and we will see. Comma separated ID or string values are supported in record criteria. Okay, this is important. When we put the criteria, we put the comma separated IDs and it will consider them as well. Okay. The limitation is that restriction rule supports only equals operator. The use of and or is not supported. So once we create it, we will see that. Okay. So let's go to a custom object. Position. Here we have restriction rules. Let's create some data first. Okay, there are various positions, test position and position 1, 2, 3. Okay, so okay, let me name it position. What I want is that if there is any test position, I don't want to see that. Okay. So here you will see two criteria. User criteria. This criteria basically tells that select which user this restriction rule applies to. Okay, so for which user you are creating this restriction rule. Okay. And there is another thing called permission criteria. For here you can actually choose a permission, for which permission you want to have this restriction rules apply to. So we created a bypass validation permission. If I want to hide which couple of records for the user who have this permission, then we can do that. Okay, so we can also create it for individual users, or we can create for the group of users who have, let's say, a particular custom permission assigned, and which records we want to hide or which records we want to create restriction on will be selected here. Okay, so here we will select for which user we want to hide it, and here we will select for which records we want to create the restriction. Okay, so let's say I'm selecting the user criteria, the user who's, let's say, Okay, let me just create a couple of positions. Okay. So let's say I created a engineering position and save it. And create a new position, you know, non-engineering position and save it. Now on my user, let me select a division. Finish. Engineering. So what I want is that if the user's division is engineering, he should be able to see engineering position. Okay. That will be the base of my restriction rule. So if users division is equals to engineering, okay, then which records I want to restrict? Here we will select which records users will be allowed to see. Okay, so it will restrict all the other records. Okay, so now I want to allow the records whose name, and here the problem is that it only contains equals to. So if I want to select records which contains engineering, then it will not be, I will not be able to do. So if I change this position to it will only, okay, so here just the equals to is available, which is a huge letdown because we'll have to specifically give the exact name. It cannot, we cannot use contains, which is a drawback in my opinion. So if I give the exact name, that is fine. But if I want to use contains, it will not be able to do that. So that is the bad thing. Now, if I save this and if I go back to position, because I have all the permissions, I will be able to see the everything. Okay, now let me assign it to dummy user. What I want is I will check it with the dummy user. Okay, because I am admin, I have modify all permission anyway, right? So it will not work for me. Okay. Okay. All right. We have this position restriction which says that if user's division is engineering, then he should only be able to see the positions whose name is equals to engineering. Okay, so that's what we need to check. Dummy user two's division is engineering, and if I go to check the position, okay, we need to check it. Okay, that's how normally restriction rule works, but it is not working here, so I will check it why. And what permission is given to, did we assign any permission set?
Do we have option to activate the
No, no,
restriction
it is
rule?
active. It is active. Okay, I'm just deleting this permission set group from this user. Okay, then now let us see. Yeah, there is an option to, okay, now he's not able to see because we assigned this permission set group, which was giving the modify all permission, view all permission, and that is why he was able to see that. So now if I go to positions and go to all positions, he should be able to see engineering position at least. Right. Just
Mohit, there is a name mismatch in
that is possibility. When we do manually, that is possible, but we will correct it. Okay. Okay, yeah, definitely there is a mismatch. So that is why I was saying that it is a very hard-coded thing. Now, once the name is correct, if I refresh this, I should be able to see engineering. Yep. So now he'll be able to see engineering position. Okay. Now, if you see this command plate where we are creating this restriction rule, it is very limited. Like it is as a Salesforce developer or admin, if I get to have this created for our user where we only have equals to, we cannot even use and we cannot add multiple conditions, we cannot have multiple filter criteria, then I think this is a very, very, very raw thing. I don't think I'll be using anything like this, which does not give me any flexibility. So from the interview point of view, you understand what restriction rules are doing, but in reality it is still a very very new thing. It is not a very mature tool for you to restrict permission because it does not give us much options, neither here nor anywhere. We cannot add multiple conditions, we can only use equals to operator. Both are limitations in my opinion, so I normally do not use anything which limits me. So just understand it from the interview point of view, and in a real project, I did not get any opportunity to create it because of the limited functionality it provides. So I normally use it with the other options available. Okay. All right. Any question, guys?
With
Yeah.
what is scoping rules, which is under
Rules I will cover tomorrow. Okay. These are also like the restriction rule. Okay, scoping rules let you control the record that your users see based on criteria you select. You can set up scoping rule for different user in Salesforce so that they can focus on record that matters to them. Users can switch the set of records they are seeing as needed. So it basically scopes, see whatever records you are able to see and you have permission to see it, even do refining on them that you only see the limited records so that you can focus on those limited records. Okay, I will cover this. We will create it tomorrow and then we will see how it is different from the restriction rule. Okay. See, scoping rules are flexible. You can enable and disable them on query by query basis. Plus, they don't restrict the access that your users have to records. Okay, your user can still open and report on the records that they can access according to your org's sharing settings. So it's just that they'll not restrict the access. It's just that they will let you focus on couple of scoped record and it will, I mean, you will still have access to other record. It's just that you may not be able to see them on the UI once you apply these rules. Okay, we will create it tomorrow and we will see how it works. Okay. Sometimes we get this interview question, what is the difference between a scoping rule and the restriction rule? Both are new things, so sometimes people say that they did not get a chance to work on it. I mean, they will not do much harm even if you're not able to answer, because they are relatively new. But if you know, obviously that will be a good thing. Okay. All right. Any question, guys? So tomorrow we will start with the scoping rule and then custom labels, custom settings, I think, and then custom metadata. These are the next couple of things we have to take on. I don't think I'll be able to take on custom metadata tomorrow, because custom labels and custom settings will take some time, but we'll see. We will not rush through anything. Even if it takes time, we will take some time. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
sir. Yeah, okay, sir.
Any question, guys? I hope you
No, sir.
find today's session useful. See, nobody covers these topics because, um, see, from the popularity point of view, these restriction rules and scoping rules are not very popular. But as we are preparing for interviews, we have to take everything as a equally important topic, because in an interview, anything's coming. I know we spend too much time on record sharing and visibility, but trust me, guys, it is important, and trust me that it will, when you give interview, you will have confidence on record sharing and visibility questions, and that confidence is definitely going to be very fruitful for you in an interviews. I've seen my students like they are nailing, they are killing the questions of record sharing and visibility in interviews, because we have done the deep grinding on those topics. Okay, we have done the easy, difficult, medium, all types of questions on that topic, so that when in an interview comes, this is a topic which confuses everyone. Okay, and my students don't do the guesswork in topic like this. So that's what I want from you guys as well. This topic is a very important admin topic, so we will have to make sure that we are we are practicing all and every questions on this topic. Okay. And feel free to put your doubts. We have covered now restriction rules and muting permission and custom permissions. So I will change the answers or put the answers uh, the way we have covered couple of questions on sharing and visibility, and then we have to change the answer accordingly. Okay.
Mohit, one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Manjunath.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw something.
First
Can you give me the host permission?
yeah, let me make you a co-host.
Of course. I saw something new in the org. Not sure if I'm seeing it for the first time.
Let us see what is it.
Mhm. You guys can see the screen, right?
Yep.
I saw something under account. We see the object permissions.
Okay. Okay. And this is your dev org, right?
And this is my developer org.
Hmm. Yeah, this is definitely new. I don't have this thing on my dev. So you
Yeah.
created this recently? Org? This
No,
org?
it is very long back. I created in 2017 or 18.
Hmm.
I'll keep doing all POCs on this org. Like,
Okay. Yeah, just a second, guys. Huh? Yeah, this definitely is new. I do not see this in my dev org. So yes, I think, but this is good, right?
yep.
This is good.
I'm saying like we can control from here only. Is it so? Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, object permission you can control for here itself. Yeah, this is good. This is a good feature. Nice. Nice.
And I'm not sure hierarchy columns. Have
Hier-
you used anywhere?
Hierarchy columns are already there. I don't know how they are used, but it is there in my dev org as well. So if you create a new, what it does, not sure. These are new things we should.
Mohit sir, is it due to that easy CRUD extension?
What
No.
is it? Easy cloud extension.
You can check easy CRUD. It is a Salesforce extension like Salesforce Inspector. It also gives us this like
Because of this, you're saying?
no, this is Salesforce Inspector. Can you search for easy CRUD easy CRUD on the Chrome, please? So it also gives similar functionality. Easy
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
EASY.
I can see this. Yeah, I can see this that it gives something like this, but that is
Is
CRUD
it?
CRUD easy space CRUD.
yeah.
Hmm.
I have not installed this plugin.
Okay.
I'm hearing this for the first time.
Yeah, I'm also does
Let me explore this. We'll see what it comes to.
yeah, it is new. We should go this just a second. I'll also check this.
And then CRUD and FL as well as several considerations in this section.
Yeah, so number of managers are creating this higher to capture the see, there is an idea on Salesforce for this, but it is not showing us it is already delivered. It is showing that it is submitted. Okay. I'll share the link with you guys. And then there is something for the record access as well. So
Where in this?
I just shared a link. Can you click on this?
Okay.
On the chat I have just shared. So this idea is talking about this object access, and below the object access you can also see the record access. Okay, these two things. Now we have got the object access. So this idea is not saying that this has been delivered or something. So this must be either in beta or have not been available for the full orgs. But this idea was created by a Salesforce itself. If you check the top of this page, it's saying for transparency, I am product manager at Salesforce and I'm creating this idea to capture feedback around having the ability to manage and view object grid in object manager. So yeah, I think they have delivered it. Maybe let me check my production. Okay.
This is the flavor of Oracle Sales Cloud.
Hmm.
I verified they have the same kind under the objects.
Hmm. Yeah, but it is a good feature if it becomes generally available. It's a good feature. From object itself, we'll be able to see which profile is able to see what. So it saves a lot of time because generally going to profile is very tedious. Profiles are
Mm.
huge chunk of information, and then if you're looking for from something very specific, it will be really difficult. And then if you get record access, field access as well here, then that will be cherry on the top.
Yep.
Cool, nice. All right, I'll start the recording now.